In this lab, we're going to work with assumptions and indispensable information. This is part of the big green hand, and I like to think of it as the thumb because the thumb has this oppositional quality, which is great. And in my experience, it's very powerful. In my practice, I ran into a lot of business people who had business ideas that they wanted to bring forward. And as my job as an attorney for those businesses to help them get up and going, I would ask them questions. And often when I would ask them questions, when we got to the point where I was asking them questions about their assumptions, what were they assuming to be true in order for this business to be successful, both in the short term and the long term, I often met resistance. And when I meet resistance in working with clients, I become a little bit more awake because there's something going on that's under the covers that I don't really know what it is, but I need to investigate more. And what I found is that many business people operate intuitively. They just have this experience that they know that this is going to work, and they plunge ahead. And then oftentimes they come to counsel, whether it's legal counsel or financial counsel or planning counseling. What they often are challenged with are people asking them, so tell me about the assumptions that you're making. What are you counting on to be true in order for this business to be successful? And many of them don't like that question. And they push back. I just want you to do the lease. I just want you to do the incorporation documents. I just want you to do the partnership agreement. I don't want to talk with you about the assumptions. Now, that tells me that there's a kind of active resistance to people who work intuitively to actually crafting a better idea based on critical thinking and shaping their thinking much more consciously so that they don't lunge ahead and plunge a lot of money down the drain when it never could have worked. And they could have known that if they were willing to do the upfront work with their assumptions and indispensable information. So we're going to work through that, and I'm hoping that by the end of this talk, you'll have an appreciation for how this can help you make better decisions and build your judgment. So an assumption is something we count on to be true for other things to be true. So if I want to put a box of books on a table, I'm assuming that the lower table that I'm going to set them on is stable. I'm assuming that that's true. If I don't look and check to be sure that all the legs are solid, my books and everything else may go on the floor or go on me or tip on somebody else. So I'm counting on that. I'm assuming there's gas in my car when I go out tonight because I got gas a few days ago. I don't have to go and check the tank. I can look at the gauge, but I don't even have to do that because I'm assuming that there's gas because of an experience that I had before. I'm assuming that the sky's not going to fall in. I'm assuming that an earthquake is not going to disrupt me. We constantly making assumptions, and when people say, oh, you shouldn't make assumptions, and I'm thinking to myself, I make 10,000 assumptions every day in order to get through the day. The question is, which assumptions are significant to the future that I'm planning, and how certain am I that they're true? And that's really where we're going with this lab. So I've developed a hypothetical higher purpose. I'm imagining a person who's in the workforce, but is their higher purpose on a professional level is to develop a more meaningful career. And I assume that they've done the core concept expansion around what is meaningful and what is a career and what does it mean to develop. Those are three core concepts in that higher purpose statement. And it would be helpful if they had really fleshed those out and they really understood them. But we're going to take it on its face value. And the opportunity is to return to college. Okay? So that's the opportunity statement, to return to college. Now, what we want to do is we want to test these for both significance and certainty. And so we're going to enumerate a series of assumptions that are over here, and we'll walk through those. But we're going to put them to the test. And this is a test that I cooked up because I think it's very helpful, because you don't want to have to test everything. And you also need to know where to do research and not just be interested and go online and chase the Google mouse holes everywhere and spend the rest of your life learning all kinds of connected things, but they're not relevant to your particular purpose and your particular opportunity. So what I suggest that people do and that students do is that after each assumption that they articulate, they put an equation that looks very simple like this, a little fraction. The top number on a scale of 1 to 10 represents how significant is this to this opportunity leading toward your higher purpose. Okay? How significant? And if it's a 10, that means it's totally significant. It's extremely significant. If it's a 1, it means that it's really not, I'm assuming it, but it's really not that significant in terms of my returning to college and having that lead me to a more meaningful career. The lower fraction, the lower denominator, is certainty. How certain am I that this assumption that I'm making is true? And on a scale of 1 to 10, in this situation, it was a 2. So it's a very significant assumption and a very low certainty. And so what that means is this fraction, 10 over 2, equals 5. That's very high. The only number that's higher than that is 10 over 1, which would be 10. But 10 over 2 is 5. That's very high. And a high number indicates a research path. And that's where we need to begin to identify, how do I raise the 2 to a number that I can live with, that I feel is helpful enough, feel certain enough about that assumption. What information do I need? Who has that information? How do I secure it? How do I know if the information's any good? But certainty, this is a 2, here's a 10 for significance. That tells me that's a high number, that's my research path. If it's a 2 over a 10, that means it's very low significance, and I'm totally confident that it's true. So that's a very low number, so I just dismiss it. I don't have to give it any more attention at this time. Here are some of the sample assumptions that I made as we were doing this work. So number 1, college will lead me to a more meaningful career. Well, that, by its very nature, is an assumption. I've been to a lot of college, and I've worked in colleges, and I've had kids that have gone through college, and I think there are many different experiences around that. But the person that we're working with has to make a judgment call. How certain is it that this opportunity is going to be valid and the right opportunity for me, leading me to a more meaningful career? Well, college will lead me to a more meaningful career. How significant is that? Well, it's very significant. It's very significant to that opportunity leading me toward my higher purpose. So that's a 10. How certain am I that that's true? Well, there's the optimist in me. There's the person in me who's like, oh, college is going to be great. I don't have to go to work every day. I'm going to get to study. I'm going to get to learn. I'm going to meet new people. I'm going to have new faculty. I am going to figure out a path to a meaningful career. And I can imagine it all happening at college. Or I can take a different side of myself, which is, well, I don't know. I don't know what I'm really interested in. I don't know what the college really offers. I don't know if I'm going to be able to make all this happen in terms of connecting the learning I do at college with a meaningful career. I'm not maybe quite as certain as I need to be. And so even though this is a 10 in terms of significance, I'm going to give it a 2 in terms of my level of certainty. The cost will be less than the benefit. Well, I don't know what the costs are yet. And I don't know how to quantify the benefit. So yes, that's very important because I don't want to spend a ton of money and have nothing to show for it. That would be foolish. But on the other hand, it may be that there's a huge amount of value and it doesn't cost that much. I don't know yet. So again, it's very significant and I'm uncertain about what that might be. College is the most efficient way to find a meaningful career. Well, I've gone online and there's a lot of companies that provide career counseling and job placement and all kinds of things. They can help you survey what you're good at and your skills. You have to pay them, of course, but maybe that's another opportunity. I don't know. So do I know it's the most efficient? Well, it's very important because I'm going to spend a lot of money and a lot of time at college. How sure am I that's the most efficient? Well, I'm going to give it a 3 because I know a lot of people in my family have gone to college and they said it got them to where they are today. So I'm listening to that too. Colleges are designed to help students in career development. Well, I've gone online to the websites and they say they are, but do I really know? No, I can't really say for sure that I do know. Because I have some friends who've gone to college and they never ever talked about a career at college. They just went to classes and followed their major and got a degree. So I think it's definitely important. And again, I'm very low confident about it. My family will support me. I'm assuming that. Is that important? Well, it's about a 7. I could, I have some savings. I could do some myself. And how certain am I? I'm a 10. Okay? So this one, in terms of research, I don't have to do any research. I don't have to do any additional inquiry to sort out my assumptions. But here, this arrow is telling me this is a 5. That's a big number. So this is telling me this is my research path. And now I need to begin to identify what I need to know to raise this number higher. What's the indispensable information I have to have? And then after I do that, I go, okay, who might have that? And the reason I want to go who might have it, because the person who has that is likely to have relevant information on a number of these assumptions. So if I just use the internet and go, okay, I'm going to go chase it down on the internet. 1, I'm not sure if what's there is true. 2, I don't have a real person to talk to. And 3, it's unlikely that what my search reveals is going to expand and share other relevant information with me because I'm not able to communicate face to face. So this research path helps me because here's another 5. I need to know what the costs and the benefit are. I don't know what the costs are, so I have questions about costs and I have questions about benefits. And so I need to identify what's the indispensable information. A clever person, a smart person, a person who's conscious of how they're spending their time and their money, I need to know more than I know now. And this will help me decide what I need to know. College is the most efficient way to find. Well, again, this is a high number, 3.3. So I'm now looking at what are the other ways to find a meaningful career and what can I learn and who's involved in those professions, and can I set up meetings with those people to find out what they have on offer so I can compare it to what college has on offer. So again, I need to know who can help me and where they are, as well as regular internet research. Colleges are designed to help students in career development. Well, I've heard different stories about that. I don't really know. Probably some colleges do have a big investment in that, others not so much. Others, really, it's about connecting you with alumni or connecting you with internships. All of that's possible, but I don't really know. So where do I go? So my research path takes me into the various colleges that are available and into the career counseling areas to find out whether or not that college is really committed and that they're showing up with staff people and support people to help me figure out a more meaningful career. And that's part of what I'm paying for in the tuition. So again, this is a big number for this one. I don't have to do anything, but here I have to go talk to people at the college and find out what they say they have on offer. It may turn out that they don't have as much on offer as they say, but at least I've made personal connections with people in the career development section to find out what they do offer and what they don't offer, so that my certainty level can go up to a place where I'm going to be able to feel in each of these areas that I can raise my certainty about these assumptions, so that I don't feel at the end of spending $20,000 in 4 years of time, and I'm talking about $20,000 living at home, paying all that in tuition, maybe it's $40,000, whether I have to borrow or not, all of that I have to figure out, and find out that I could have achieved my objective, which is developing a more meaningful career, completely separate from college. If I would have known how to ask the questions and design a research path that told me the things that I was assuming were true when I was ready to go ahead to college. And I'm not saying that college is a bad deal. What I'm saying is college can end up not giving you what it is that you've decided that is your higher purpose and the opportunity to pursue it. And so this is a way to test yourself with your assumptions. And this methodology works. It doesn't matter what your higher purpose or opportunity is. You can identify what you're assuming to be true. You can work this simple little fraction that will tell you what your research path is, and you can begin to identify the indispensable information that you will need to gather.